Very good evening to everybody. And as they say, let sleeping dogs lie. A little gentle refrain to lull the dogs to sleep here. See, they started to look at me already. I won't make eye contact. Good evening to everybody. This is Christopher Daigan coming to you on Saturday, the 13th of November in our next live stream. We are in another sequence, another series. We are now at 171, it seems. A new session past 170, a new group, it seems to me, in my mind. And I hope you can join us for the next hour. I've got a wonderful program of music. I have attempted or programmed it before, tried to put it together and postponed it twice. And this is the music of Maurice Ravel, which I'll be playing an entire program, an hour session devoted to his compositions this evening in a program called Why Ravel. I hope to reveal some of my thoughts about why I think his music is so special, why his contribution to the piano repertoire and to the world of music is so critical, so beautiful and so magnificent. And I'm feeling very excited about this. It's been a beautiful day. Everyone has been enjoying themselves. All the dogs have been behaving themselves. Everyone's doing very well. We've got beautiful images. We've got beautiful music. I'm feeling like I'm on top of things, more or less. But also, very importantly, my piano had a fantastic, thorough tuning yesterday. Thanks to James Webster at Midlands Piano Services. And when I sat down at it this afternoon, because I hadn't practiced on it, I practiced on another piano yesterday and today, I was just amazed. I thought, wow, this is what Ravel needs. Ravel's music is all about sound. It is all about the quality of sound. And so to have a perfectly sounding, perfectly tuned piano really makes a difference. And I was thinking the other day, my piano started to sound a bit edgy and a bit harsh. And it's amazing just what a thorough tuning will actually do to make the sounds all come together and harmonize beautifully. And it really brings together something that I'm very interested in terms of the piano, in that I think that the quality, the nature of sound itself has an emotional impact or does have a message to it somehow. I've really noticed that in the streams, as I say, I always listen to these streams. I listen to them at least once, every single one of them. And I've always noticed about the quality of the sound, the beautiful microphones that we use, the beautiful equipment, mixer that's bringing the sound to you as an audience and as I observe in the recordings as well. But that the piano and the quality of the sound has an inherent emotional context, you might say, to it. Even if the music might be of a certain dramatic nature or a certain relaxed nature, even the sound and the quality of the sound or the type of sound, the type of attack that I produce at the piano has, I feel, an inherent quality, an inherent emotional message almost. It's some of the sounds are more pure or some of them are more intense than others. And this is really critical to Ravel's music, and I hope to reveal and show you this evening how that's going to work. Of course, if you are watching and enjoying these, please do support us. You'll find all the information and all the links to various donation platforms at my donate page at musicrevival.co.za. So I'm going to dive straight into the music. I'm going to start off with a wonderful piece of music by Ravel, the Pavane for the Dead Infanta. I got this title mixed up earlier on in the year, calling it the Dead Infant. There was no dead infant. In fact, there was no dead Infanta either, but the Infanta referring to a young child princess of Portugal or Spain. It was a fictitious title. Ravel conjured it up to say that he wanted to create a title for a piece of music that had great austerity, that had great sense of occasion, solemnness, without being too serious, had a certain innocence and purity to it. And he wrote this in 1899. It really, I think, is his first great masterpiece. This is one of his great, most celebrated compositions. He later rewrote it for full orchestra, I think about 20 years later. He wrote the same notes, but just orchestrated it, so many people will know the orchestral version. But what is so interesting, just to draw your attention to one or two things here, what is so intriguing about it, in terms of writing this beautiful melody, you immediately, the way that Ravel treats this in the first notes is quite alarming. The first thing is that he actually doesn't include any bass note on the first beat, which is very unusual. On the very first beat of the music, there is no bass note. Only on the second movement, second beat, does he include a bass note. And immediately the way he harmonizes these melodies and brings together the chords, when you hear that, and I play it like that, and it's a very jazzy chord. There's a lot of dissonances. There are a lot of notes that we don't expect. And in the very next melody, the very next melody note, that's a real dissonance. In terms of classical harmony, that's a dissonance. That would be a bad mark. It would be a big red cross next to your harmony exercise in an exam. But this is what Ravel's doing. He's picking up the same ideas that actually the early jazz chords are bringing together unusual notes, unusual combinations, and he uses them in such a way that they pass through very quickly and with such delicacy that it adds this beautiful perfume to the music, this wonderful harmonious richness. It would sound very bland and very simple if he didn't actually use this, these very unusual notes. So listen out for them. You'll hear throughout the piece this sort of spice, the perfume that he adds to the music. So this is his early composition, the Pavane for the Dead Infanta. What magnificent music there. Ravel's Pavane for the Dead Princess or the Dead Infanta, what I think is first most celebrated composition written in 1899. Now I'm going to move on to a really extraordinary piece of music which I'm going to play in its entirety, and this is the 5 piano pieces that make up the composition Miroir or Mirrors of 1905. This really brings Ravel to a whole new style of piano writing that's more elaborate, that's imaginative. This music here is very much written almost in a classical style. It's very straightforward in terms of its melody and its accompaniment. But with the next pieces you will hear, Ravel starts to really explore the piano in a myriad of different ways. He writes 5 pieces, and I'm going to play them as an entirety, as I say. The titles will come up as they come through. The first one, Noctuelle or Night Moths, has this effect of fluttering night moths. As I talked about this, I discussed this a little bit on Wednesday. If you'd like to see more of this, how this music was put together, I did discuss it on last Wednesday's stream, where I slowed some of the pieces down and played one hand at a time. But he talked about night moths, the fact of moths getting drawn to a flame, drawn to a lamp in the night. You're not sure what you're actually seeing. You're seeing flickerings of wings and abdomens and thoraxes and little moth bits flying around as they beat into each other and bump into each other, and then the cascading of wings as they fall off to the ground. A really extraordinary image that I think he captures very well in the music. The second piece, Sad Bird or Oiseau Triste, really brings together this idea of the bird, this very solemn and sad bird you hear in the depths of a forest, he described. He said it described a bird, or he had the atmosphere of a very hot and humid dark forest with a lone bird singing and a fluttering of wings before the bird returns to its very solemn state. The third piece, A Ship on the Ocean, or Un barque sur l'océan, a piece of music that he really brings together a watery element, a feeling of undulating waves and big waves and small waves, the light flickering of water and this small boat being tossed around at times, but also undulating and finding its way across this path of water. It really is a piece of music that uses, I think, almost every note of the piano, almost from the very top to the very bottom, as these cascades of sound crash up and down. The fourth piece of music is a piece that I did play recently in a very different style, the Alborada del Grazioso, and this is a piece that is written in Spanish style. Now it is said that Ravel, who is obviously French and lived in the south of France, in the Basque region of France, it is said that actually Ravel wrote better or more Spanishy music than the Spaniards did themselves, and this is certainly one of the pieces that picks up on this effect. The title of the piece translates roughly as the morning song or the lover's song of the clown jester. And in the beginning of the piece you hear the cracking of castanets, the guitar strumming, these rapid outbursts, this tense, very tense rhythmic nature with these outbursts and then sudden subdued sections. He really asks the pianist to play some of the most difficult things that the piano can do. It's renowned as one of the most challenging and tricky virtuoso pieces with lots of repeated notes. And towards the end of the piece, a series of double glissandi. That's a single glissandi with one note. He asks, pianist here, it won't work right now. It asks the pianist to play sliding up and down the keyboard with 2 notes in one hand. It's something I try not to do too often because you can leave part of your thumb or your third finger behind on the keyboard, as I think I've just done now. And it's a piece of music that is really brilliantly exciting. He later orchestrated this as well, and it's also very well known in its orchestral version. And then the last piece of the 5, The Valley of Bells, piece of music that has imitation of many layers of bells, from smaller bells on the top, repeated, to very long bell sounds. And it's interesting to see how he conjures up this effect of very fluid bells in a distance across the valley, as though they're very faded away in very far away places. And it's amazing, obviously, in these beautiful undulating valleys, how bells like that will sound and ring so incredibly sweetly. It's a very somber piece, and I think that it's a very interesting combination how Ravel at this time combines these pieces that deal with elements of mystery, of water, of Spain, of fire, of bells and earth, the sadness of birds, the torpor of the forest, this humidity of the forest. It's a very earthy piece, and he really seems to conjure up in this combination of 5 pieces an extraordinary, diverse and broad range of colors, moods and sounds. So these are the 5 pieces of Miroir by Maurice Ravel. that was the 5 pieces by Maurice Ravel, Miroir, a whole set. It's quite a substantial chunk of music, but I'm sure you'll agree, a really extraordinary music. And when the piano is sounding beautiful and it's inspiring to play because it's so perfectly in tune and it's producing beautiful sounds that I want it to produce, it's a real joy to play. I think Ravel's music is certainly he is probably my favorite composer. Many people ask me that, and certainly working on his music is always a joy. It's like unraveling a puzzle and being able to just revel and ravishing Ravel, you might say. I am going to end the program, well, I mean, it's hardly an ending to a program, with 2 pieces of music. There's more Ravel to come. I'm going to play for you the first movement from the Sonatine, a piece of music that's very small, very delicate and quite slight actually. And then Ondine, the opening movement from the set of 3 pieces. I'm only playing Ondine the first, from his real masterpiece, Gaspard de la Nuit. This is one of the great, possibly the greatest piece of piano music ever written. It really is so unique, so incredibly imaginative, so precise and so perfect that it is also incredibly difficult, and really is the contemporary, almost like a 20th century standard for any virtuoso pianist. But first of all, the Sonatine. So Ravel entered a competition. There was a local journal in Paris that set about a competition asking composers to enter a piece of music, a short sonatine, a piece of music that had to be a specific number of bars long. So of course there are 3 or 4 beats in each bar. So it was a short piece of music, very big challenge actually. And Ravel, being an established composer already, for me, very surprisingly, decided this was not beyond him and entered this piece of music, the first movement, as part of this competition. He unfortunately didn't win. He was in fact disqualified because his piece of music, I mean, great master that he was actually 1 bar too long. It was longer by 1 bar than what the competition had stipulated, so he was disqualified. But I think it's such a great piece, and I think he realized that he went on to compose 2 second and third movements, and it is such an incredibly beautiful and delicate piece. Not written in this grand style of very complex writing, but written in almost Mozartian style. Sonatine, a small sonata. There's something very delicate, it's very compact. It's really everything about Ravel condensed into a very highly civilized, refined, sophisticated concept, like a little jewel within itself. The second piece then, which I'm going to end this evening's program, Ondine, Ravel writes 3 pieces inspired by the poetry of Bertrand in Gaspard de la Nuit, Gaspard of the Night. 3 forms of this mysterious, the underworld, you might say. And Ondine is the legend of the water nymph, tells the legend of the water nymph very graphically, starting off with the shimmering of water and this alluring melody as Ondine lures her subject, lures a sailor or a mortal man to join her beneath the waves. And she sings this very beautiful song, seduces the gentleman to say that if you come and live with me and you together with me under the water, you will be the king of the waves. You can hear my father calling, the king of the ocean, calling from the deep. And the poet says that he resists her attempts, her alluring call and her very sultry advances, and she eventually cries out in horror and disappears, sheds a tear and disappears under the water again, in aghast that she is alone and that he is not willing to join her, even though she loves him so much. So it's a very captivating tale that's full of imagery of water, this challenge, this arising tension between these 2 people. You'll hear the father from the king of the deep calling, and then her outburst of anger, her solitary tear, and then a shriek of laughter as she disappears once again beneath the waves. So it's really one of the most ravishing pieces of music ever written for the piano, particularly Ondine, the first of these 3 pieces. And this is going to bring to an end this evening's selection of Ravel's music. That was Ravel's Ondine from Gaspard de la Nuit, Maurice Ravel, bringing to an end this evening's selection of music devoted entirely to Maurice Ravel. As I said, I think he has an incredibly, the most magnificent understanding of the piano, I think, out of all the composers, even more than Liszt and Chopin maybe, just in terms of his technical understanding of how to create sounds and how to create a particular color and texture. His music is just, the piano music is certainly steeped and born out of the instrument. The orchestral music is so idiomatic. In terms of his orchestral writing, he's acknowledged as the greatest orchestrator of all time. And Ravel's music has just an incredible refinement, beauty, classicism, poise. It is the most wonderful music, and with this incredible charm and beauty throughout, and such great imagination. Now, someone else who has great imagination, who is coming to see me now on the live stream, is Little Lucy. And Little Lucy, how are things? How's Little Lucy doing today? What did you do today, Luce? Oh yes, Luce, you didn't do nothing. You were on Facebook. Luce was modeling for Facebook. Lucy was posing and presented a lovely picture. And Lucy wanted to tell me thank you so much to everyone who commented and who's responded with such loving thoughts and lovely comments on my Facebook page and my Christopher Dagen pianist page. Yes, Lucy, really, what else? Oh, you also, Lucy watched rugby. She wanted you to know that you watched rugby this afternoon. That's awesome. So today was an eventful day. You didn't just do nothing. Hey, Luce. Yes, that's very good. A day full of Instagram, Facebook, and rugby. What a delicious day it was. And let's see who else is going. Oh, yes, Frida. And Frida Pop's coming up for a little scratch. Hello, Frida. How's Frida today? Yes, oh yes. You also watch the rugby. Yes, you like the rugby. Yes, you're very fond of rugby. Yes, you think we're very, very pleased that we won, because that's even more good news. Huh? And Wendy Pop, is Wendy Pop going to come and say hello? Come on, Wendy Pop. Yes. Well, that brings us to the end of this evening's session. Thank you, Barry, for the technical support. I hope for those of you who are watching, please comment. It's always lovely to know who is watching. Hello to all our friends, our regulars, Julie, Jerry, and Alison, Jenny Kern, Sarah in Cape Town. Thank you for watching. Phil in Howick. Everyone who's joining us, thank you for all the support. I'm very grateful for every financial donation that has come through. Excuse me, girls. Hey, I'm talking. And I am going to be sending out emails shortly. If you are sending me WhatsApps, unfortunately my WhatsApp system is down at the moment and out of action. My iPhone is somehow no longer capable my office iPhone is no longer able to support WhatsApp. So hopefully that will be replaced soon. Please be patient if you are contacting me there. Otherwise, thank you for joining me tonight. Thanks again for all the support that's come through. 171, we're starting the last 30 streams to get to 200, which will be next year in January or so. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for another brilliant program, I think, of some fascinating music in our World Cafe program. Keep well, look after yourselves, and stay well.